And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Phone number 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. Toll free, as usual. It's called Broadcast, coast to coast and worldwide. Look, if you're new to the broadcast, don't know who I am or why I'm here, I am the founder of the American Hair Loss Association. I'm the author of a book that has been in print in a couple different editions for the last 15 years, since first edition 1998. Name of the book is The Bald Truth, the first complete guide to preventing and treating hair loss, published in currently 5 languages across the world. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm saying that because it's an effing hair loss book. It's a book that really, initially described my journey as a hair loss sufferer through this incredibly treacherous field. And along the way, at the time, I learned what I needed to do to slow down the progression of my hair loss and to avoid the insanity of what goes on in this $3.5 billion a year industry. Fast forward 15 years, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of shit still out there. That no matter what we tried to do, no matter how we tried to guide you in a safe direction, the snake oilers and the unethical physicians and the guys who are just out there who realize how simple it is, how easy it is to take advantage of the vulnerability of hair loss sufferers, are still finding ways to do it. But with that said, we have been doing this for such a long time that we have made a tremendous impact on the entire industry. So at least now there are products and services that we know can help hair loss sufferers. There is a tremendous wealth of information online and through our online resources and through other resources that we created over the years to help navigate you safely through this industry. And there is real hope out there. The goal is to get the guys, the newbies, the guys who are just going through the initial throes of hair loss, the guys who never looked up hair loss before via the internet, or they never really paid attention to the infomercials and the 2-minute spots on cable television. The key is to get these new guys to find out about these resources so that they can avoid being harmed, avoid being ripped off, avoid being disfigured, because sadly, no matter what we've done over the years, that shit is still happening. Now, this platform is your safe place to learn about everything and anything hair loss. It's not just a place to complain about hair loss or to find out about, what's next, what's going on next, or what's coming down the pike, which is obviously that's something that we do. But I just cracked myself up. And my computer is actually dying here in front of me, so I'm going to have to plug it in. But, this is really a place to share the emotional aspects of living life as a hair loss sufferer and to let people know that no matter what we deal with as hair loss sufferers, there is life after hair loss. I am living proof that while my hair is not perfect, I've been dealing with hair loss since the age of 21. I am now 47 years old, soon to be 48. God be willing. It's only something a Jew would say. But no matter what you think, no matter what you're dealing with, no matter how hair loss is affecting your life, I am telling you, there are ways to deal with it. You just have to figure out a way to come to grips with, the limitations we have with treatments and the possibility that the current treatments will not help you because they can't help everybody. Phone number is 888-659-3727. 888-659-3727. Yes, we know, Joe Staten, that hair loss is hell. It's hell for many, many people. And I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today 15 years after my book was published, my first book. 14 years after I was lucky enough to get my ass on the radio with this broadcast. I wouldn't continue to do what I do today if hair loss hadn't affected me the way that it did and still affects me in a way that those who are not dealing with hair loss could never imagine. As I get older, it's becoming more acceptable to, wear a ton of hairspray in my hair and to, I'm the guy amongst my peers who still has a decent amount of hair because most of the other guys fell by the wayside, except for most of the guys, I should say, that have been in direct contact with me, personal friends of mine. So it's a little easier to deal with at this stage in life, especially since I've established myself. I've, found the greatest girl in the world and have been with her for a very long time as well, just about as long as I've been on the radio. And so, things are different for me. But when you're 20 years old and you're dealing with hair loss and you don't know what's going to happen, I understand that panic. I understand that tremendous fear and the anger involved and the jealousy of your peers. Why is this happening to me? Why, I'm so young. I get that. I understand that. So we're here to talk about all of your issues when it comes to hair loss, and we're here to provide you, again, with a safe place to learn about your real options and also a safe place to get information about, perhaps not doing anything, learning how to just cope with it and living as a bald person or as a balding man. And millions of guys do it, and they have very successful lives. I don't know if I would have been one of those guys. I'm a guy that wants to walk around with hair in his head. So I will, by hook or by crook, whether it's surgical hair restoration, if my medication wears off or it just stops working for me, if I begin to progress again to the point where I just don't feel comfortable in my own skin, surgery may be an option, a hairpiece may be an option. But as long as I could spray my hair and paint my scalp and make myself feel comfortable leaving the house, right now I'm in a pretty good place. And like I said, I've tried hair pieces. I've worn small partial things and, little tiny yarmulkes to cover my bald spot to see if that would work out for me. And you know what? It's not a bad option. It really isn't a bad option. So if you're willing to deal with what you have to deal with to make yourself feel good, and as long as you look okay and, your spouse or your significant other is honest enough to tell you if you look like an idiot or not, then there's a lot of options that are not perfect, but they can get you through life. 888-659-3727. I may have to take a break in a sec to plug in my computer, but let's. I think this is Joe. Hey, Joe, is that you?
Yes, am I live on the air?
You are live on the air, Joe.
Thank you, Spencer. I was thinking a lot about our a famous Bald Truth poster today, Arista. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Yes.
He's a lot like me.
I thought it was Artista.
Artista, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's a lot like me. He's 54 years of age. We're exactly the same age. We've been suffering for many years. We've been researching hair loss many years. And the sad reality is, we both in the same place today. We don't have a viable treatment. But let me give the good news, then I'll give the bad news. The good news is for someone like me and Arista, we will have within the next couple of years, we'll have a viable pharmacological intervention treatment or a viable surgical treatment that could actually restore a significant amount of hair to a person's head. But let me give the bad news. No cure, pharmacological or surgical, can give us back our youth. That youth has been stolen from us. And no doctor in this world can ever give it back to us. All I can say is, how ironic. How very ironic.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
My name is excuse me. My name is
Would you like me to reiterate it?
My name is
Have you heard it? Excuse me.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
Joe, you know, you always have such an uplifting opening for all of us.
But I mean, is it what I'm saying? Would you say it's correct or incorrect?
Well, no, you're absolutely right. You know, you're never going to get back what you lost, and that's why I try to tell these young guys to just try to find a way to enjoy your life and not put the brakes on your life because of your hair loss. You know, there's so many guys who contact us, who have contacted us over the years, and who are now part of Bald Truth Talk message forums. And when I read the forums, which I did read some threads today, I see the angst in the guys that are just not, or they're incapable of living because of their hair loss, and they think that either one of these treatments, or these treatments that are coming down the pike, or surgical hair restoration, is going to give them their life back. And a lot of these guys, they can't afford it at the time. They're concerned about how they will afford these treatments when they do come to fruition, and they currently can't afford a hair transplant, and they are not living. They're spending all their time on the message forums, all of their time, bickering back and forth, and instead of going out there and living life and maybe just checking the forums. And listen, these guys are part of this fraternity. I understand what they're dealing with. But, you said a mouthful, Joe. How many years did you lose? And how many years did I lose? The first, 10 years of my hair loss were very, very difficult for me. I figured out a way to live. But like, our friend Marcus from New York says, it was really just like a half a life.
Spence, I've lived in hell for the last 35 years.
I know.
No doctor in the world, surgically or pharmacologically, could give those years back to me.
That is true, but I think that it's our duty, and it's your duty now, Joe, to kind of like, let these young guys know, let these young cats know what you've been through, and that's why we keep you on the program, obviously. That's one of the reasons. And, you are on one end of the spectrum, that there are so many guys out there who are like that, and they're just miserable. They're living really horrific existences. They're dropping out of school. They're changing their career paths. They're not asking out women. They're living, lonely lives because they don't look as good as they once did, and they think because perhaps they're not getting the same attention they got from the opposite sex, that there's no way they could ever be happy, and there's no way they could ever get any attention from the opposite sex. But I can tell you, or the same sex, whatever. I could tell you I could tell you in your case, Joe, I could tell you that's not true. That is not true, man. I know so many guys who, young cats out there, the 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds, would never consider as attractive guys. These are not guys who society deems to be these hot, handsome type of guys. And they are with total knockouts. And some of them aren't making a lot of money. Some of them just have regular jobs.
I see it all the time, Spencer.
Every day. So, but we're talking about treatments, and we're talking about the future of treatments. And I will tell you that we have been getting a tremendous amount of inquiries about Dr. Carlos Wesley in New York City.
Yes, she's about to ring him up.
Yeah. So, I had the opportunity to speak with Dr. Wesley one-on-one this week. Did not tape the talk because currently there's only so much that he wants to put out there for several reasons. One is, he has to work within the legal parameters of certain things. And there's just things that he just can't say. But I was made privy to a really powerful PowerPoint presentation as well as a video presentation of what we've read about, which is online, which is Dr. Wesley's scarless FUE technique. Now, Joe, you know me. I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. I do not take
15 years.
I do not take these things lightly, and I will say that most of what's presented to me is complete fucking garbage. You know, I have taken the time to interview doctors and to go out there and to try to get information on cutting-edge treatments, and a lot of times I felt that these treatments were questionable. In some cases, questionable at best. And in some cases, I thought that they had merit, but, they might not be what some of these doctors were claiming they are. Well, I can tell you that after seeing Dr. Wesley's presentation, and after seeing video, and after getting really been given a full understanding of what he is doing, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that if everything that he presented me is factual, if the videos are real, if the case studies are real, if the instrumentation that he's developed is real, scarless hair transplantation is going to be here very, very soon. It may even be out there, by the end of 2013, maybe sooner. And what's interesting about this technique is that it is so simple. If you really think about it, it's so simple. And, I think Dr. Wesley actually mentioned that on his website, that it's so hard to believe that other surgeons have not attempted to do this or have not been successful doing it, or thought of it, I should say. And I will tell you that I guess the $64,000 question is, you got to be old to know what the $64,000 question is. Will there be any regenerative properties with this technique? Everyone is hyper focused on donor hair regeneration. I can tell you that theoretically, he has not gone to lab with this, but theoretically, if it's done a specific way, I believe that there could be donor regeneration, and it could be significant and consistent. So, I'm here to tell you that I saw something this week that I never thought that I would see. And I truly believe that follicular units will be able to be extracted without leaving, not just without leaving a visible scar, but without leaving any type of, fibrotic tissue or even microscopic scarring within the first few layers of the scalp. So it's a big deal. It's really a big deal.
So I won't be going to Mumbai. I'll be going to Manhattan.
Say that again?
I won't be going to Mumbai, India. I'll be going to Manhattan.
Well, I can tell you this. I don't know, what's happening with these hair doubling and all that stuff. Right now, that's all very questionable. All I know is that Dr. Wesley is a real physician who is a young guy who I think has potentially cracked the code. And, I don't think people understand what the ramifications, what the, I guess that's the wrong word, how profoundly a technique can affect the lives of millions of people. It's unbelievable what can happen. I know, Joe, that you're just concerned that, well, you still can only move a certain amount of hair. If you are able to actually have a scarless hair transplant, that gives younger guys or guys in initial throes of hair loss so many more options to, even if hair transplantation for them is just a temporary fix and they continue to progress. In my view, if you're not leaving any scars anywhere on the scalp, even if you go outside of the safe zone, it's possible to go outside of the safe zone and at least have that hair last for maybe a decade before it starts to miniaturize and give people just that much more of a chance to live their lives. And by the time, and we're talking 10 years, 5 years, by the time these guys do start to progress and their donor does start to progress, which means the recipient would start to progress, we know that we're going to have much better options out there. So I think that this is a huge, huge breakthrough. And again, I've just been presented. It was a private presentation. If everything, and I do not believe that Dr. Wesley is trying to pull the wool over my eyes. So if everything that he presented to me is factual, And if the videos that he took are real, and there's no reason to believe that they are not, I believe that scarless hair transplantation will be here within months, maybe in less than a year.
Well, especially in my opinion, if you're doing scarless hair transplants, obviously you'll be able to extract more from the donor area due to the fact it doesn't leave scars. Is that a correct scenario?
Well, again, he's being very close-lipped. These are basically my thoughts, and this is all theoretical. But yeah, if you're destined to be a Norwood 6 or Norwood 7, but you're not destined to progress till you're 40 to that stage, and you're 22 years old, you might be able. There's a good chance, if this is actually happening, that you'll be able to utilize hair that wouldn't necessarily be considered in the safe zone. And if it does start to recede, you're just going to look like you're balding naturally. So, as long as there's not too much hair removed, so there's not some sort of a shotgun effect, and it doesn't look too moth-eaten, then they can basically, with a technique like this, you can kind of balance out the donor and the recipient area so that, if there's a more even distribution of hair. And I do believe that you'll be able to utilize a lot more scalp donor hair, maybe increasing it by 25, 30%, which is huge. Huge. That alone is tremendous. It's life-changing for people.
Will you be posting the interview or a video on the Bald Truth Talk.com in the near future, Spencer?
Well, when we have the go-ahead, when we have the green light, when everything is, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, Dr. Wesley absolutely will be on this broadcast, and we will be posting all the information that you guys need. Now, what I also like about this is that, this is a guy that's going to be sharing this technique at all the international conferences. This is a guy who's is willing to train people in his office, and to show people, basically get the instrumentation out to people, in the field. Guys who are currently performing surgical hair restoration, guys who understand the entire scope of how to perform a great hair transplant will have access to this. There's going to be no secrets, no smoke and mirrors. It is what it is, and the public is going to be able to see for their own eyes what it is. That's what's exciting to me. Now, it's always possible that I'm going to come back to you in 6 months or in 3 months and say, you know what, for whatever reason, what was presented to me was not, it was not real. I can't imagine that being the case. This guy would have to be totally insane to do something like that. You know what I mean, Joe? So I don't want to get overly. Yes. I don't want to get overly excited, but I you know me. I try to be tempered, but this to me is real, and it's something that will eventually, sooner than most people would think, will change this field and really give people a lot more hope.
Well, my opinion, this could also help people like myself, repair patients, because you'll be able to extract more hairs with no scars from the donor area.
Well, absolutely. I'm assuming, and there's certain questions that he couldn't answer, and he's very, he doesn't really, he's not the type of guy to make use of hyperbole. He keeps things close to his vest. He's a little guarded with it, and I understand why. But he's also not telling me all this grandiose bullshit that I hear from so many other doctors who are claiming to do what they're claiming to do. I'm assuming that body hair transplantation, guys who have significant amounts of body hair and who are not concerned about having that body hair, that body hair can be used. And, with a technique like this, 100% of that body hair could be used, because there's not going to be any scarring. You're not going to have to worry about the sun, causing, the scars not tanning when you're in the sun, things of that nature. So to me, that's what's exciting.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But Dr. Wesley is also greatly involved with beard hair transplantation. Is that correct?
Yes. And he's also, he's the guy is, there's no doubt in my mind that he's young. He's probably between 35 and 39, something like that. I don't even think he's 40
I'd say about 37.
Yeah, I don't even think he's 40 yet. And he's really into it, I think, for the right reasons. And he doesn't want to keep, and we spoke about this, he's a doctor. he doesn't understand why anyone want to keep this type of science to themselves. It's beyond, he's still going to be the guy that's going to, be known for getting this out to the world and changing this industry, changing the lives of millions of people. And I got to tell you, I mean, if it were me, with any of these doctors, I would probably, if I had the opportunity to go to the guy that invented the procedure, then I would probably go to the guy who invented the procedure, tested the procedure, really understands the procedure best. So, any of these other guys who are out there, developing their techniques, who are trying to keep it close to their vest, who are afraid that other people are going to steal them. I mean, there's so many thousands upon thousands, millions of patients eventually, if something like this comes to fruition, who will have this done, that the inventor, the guy whose name is on the paper, the guy that takes the time to train other physicians, the guy that developed the equipment and the technique, he's the guy that's going to win in the end anyway. So you don't have to keep it close to your vest. So I'm excited about it, dude. I really am. I think a lot of people are going to be helped. And, listen, I could be proven wrong. Who knows what doctors are going to come out after this program and try to, contact me and say, well, this is bullshit. What are you talking about? Listen, I say it like it is. Everyone gave me shit about FUE years ago when I first, when I spoke to Ray Woods, and no one believed me. And I talked about it on the radio show and started to get out there online. And I pushed it, it.
Yeah, the jealousy that exists in the hair transplant industry. A lot of jealous doctors, so they're jealous of one another.
But there's no reason. And the thing is, there's no reason for this. I have to tell you, with a technique like this, everyone is going to benefit. Everyone is going to benefit, and they would have to be out of their minds. The people in the companies that won't benefit may be some of these guys who have developed, some of these automated devices. They may have to kind of just move into another iteration and kind of develop a device that will kind of work with this technique, and those are ways for these companies to kind of still stay afloat and to thrive. But these are the guys that are going to be affected. The hair transplant industry, the hair transplant doctors, they're only going to benefit from it because so many more patients are going to want to have this done. Sadly, there will be guys who are lazy out there who are going to try to take shortcuts, so they're not going to do it correctly, and I'm sure people will be harmed, just like with any other cosmetic procedure. So guys are going to have to do their due diligence, and we're going to still have to be out here, guiding people in the best direction.
Spencer, you ready to send me to Dr. Wesley yet? Or not yet?
I will definitely, contact. I mean, you can go anytime you want. I don't know if how much you're going to benefit from it at this point, Joe, except for the fact that if he performs a procedure, I'm pretty convinced that it's going to be scarless. And your whole concern is that you want more donor hair. So if you could use your body hair, if that's something that you want to do, who knows? Maybe Dr. Wesley would make you one of his very first home run patients. Who knows? But I definitely would love to get you in the chair.
Well, Spencer, when I'm ready, I'm sure you call him on my behalf. I'm sure he'd give me special attention.
Well, I would, but that's a lot of pressure again. You say that publicly, so now if I don't do it, I'm an asshole. I'm just kidding, Joe.
No, I'm not saying I'm doing it. I'm just saying, money is not an object for me because I'm a very wealthy person,
Joe, I can't speak for Dr. Wesley, but I can tell you that he's a really good guy, and that I am sure that he would be honored to work on Joe from Staten Island.
Well, let me make this one statement. If you get beard hair scarless, you could actually take half the beard with no scars and have thousands and thousands of grafts. Am I correct in that observation? That in itself is a major thing.
Well, you can, but then again, I don't know how effective this technique is on beard hair, how close you can get together, removing the grafts. I just don't know. What I saw with his, with some of the labs that he showed me with scalp hair, I was just blown away. It's insane. When you guys find out what it is, it's going to be like, holy shit. How can no one else have thought of that?
So what, we could be expecting more stuff on this shortly, more presentations from you, Spencer, on this shortly, Dr. Wesley?
Shortly, I can't say, but I would say definitely within 6 months, we're probably going to get a lot more information. I'm hoping that by the end of 2013, it's just going to be a done deal, and it's going to start being cranked out. It's going to be presented at the international meetings. Doctors will start learning the technique. And but I also think it's a great option. If you have an option like this, and you say you want to use a get a strip procedure, for instance. You want to get a lower price procedure. You want to get a lot of hairs done in one shot, like go to a Rahal or Hassan Wang or any other guys who are really doing great strip surgery. And you kind of just want to move on with your hair restoration life. Get a lot of hair done in a year. You could always go back and then get a procedure like this that is going to be basically scarless. And potentially, again, theoretically, you might be able to, again, this is theoretical, but I think that from everything that I've seen, that regeneration is a real possibility. So I have no idea how viable those regenerated hairs will be. But then again, if there's no fibrotic tissue and there's no scarring, they may be a hell of a lot more viable than, other physicians who are claiming regeneration because, they're going in there and leaving microscopic scarring. Every time you cut into that scalp and leave that scar, even if it's not visible, we have no idea how viable those regenerated hairs are if in fact they are regenerated. So, I think that we're going to be. I can tell you this. I think Wesley's going to get a lot of press. I really do, and I think a lot of people are going to be very happy. But again, that's my prediction. I could be being bamboozled right now. The wool could be pulled over my eyes. I mean, I can't imagine that being the case because I basically saw it with my own eyes. However, until that doctors are performing in their offices, until Dr. Wesley is offering it on a full-time basis, it's not. It is what it is.
Well, I feel on a personal level, a lot of Bold Truth listeners are demanding that I go to India to be treated by Dr. Mumbai. I'd be much more comfortable being treated by Dr. Wesley, to be honest with you, than Dr. Mumbai.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you get back in a foreign country.
Are you talking about Dr. Nigam?
Nigam, I'm sorry. Dr. Nigam in Mumbai.
Let me tell you something, guys. The guys that are out there. The guys that are out there pandering to the message forums. You have to watch them all with a jaundiced eye. And we are allowing this conversation to happen because I think this discussion is very important for all the stuff that's happening in Europe. Anybody that's that's claiming to do donor hair regeneration, I think these are important conversations to have. I just think it's really vital that consumers understand, that hair loss sufferers understand that what's being written on the message forums, for the most part, is being written by, laymen, being written by, anonymous people. We have no idea who they are. Some of them are patients. Some of them claim to be patients. Some of them just have, a hard-on for the hair loss industry at large. Some of them, just are guys who are just hopeful. And you have to take everything that's written on any message forum with a grain of salt. You have to look at real clinical data. You have to see real patients. And, honestly, if I was going to have anything done, I would meet these patients in person. I would sit in on a surgery. I would follow somebody's case, not just on the internet. These guys are making bold claims. So I think the conversation is important. I'm glad that we're able to offer a platform where these discussions can occur, and guys can learn and share information. But you got to take a lot of what's being said with a grain of salt, and you just, I would say that a lot of the guys out there, I believe, at least in the past, have been misled by stuff like this online. I think that's changing. But Dr. Nigam is new, man. He's new on the scene. He's made a lot of mistakes online from what I've read. And I would just be careful. I'm open-minded, though. I'm certainly open-minded.
You're breaking up.
All right. Well, I'm going to...
question from the chat room.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, you asked me a question from the chat room. Then I have to take a break. We have calls on the line.
All right.
I'm going to reboot.
It's about Dr. Wesley when you come back. It's a specific question about Dr. Wesley when you come back.
Give me the question. I'll take the question now.
Want to take it now? You say it when you come back.
Yeah, right now.
They want to know if this procedure Dr. Wesley need any type of FDA approval.
The answer is no, and there's also going to be no. The procedure itself won't need any FDA approval. Obviously, anytime there's new instrumentation used, the FDA does have to be involved, but it's a totally different process. from what I understand. So it's not like having a drug FDA approved, so you guys don't have to worry about that. And I don't think anyone, from what I understand, I don't think you're going to have to worry about any type of preservation mediums or anything that cannot be used in different parts of the world or in this country. It's a technique that it's mind-blowing, actually. It's fucking mind-blowing. And you know what? I wish that I can tell you guys right now, but I am legally bound not to say anything. I did discuss with Dr. Wesley the fact that we're getting a lot of questions about his technique, and I wanted to kind of put it out there that I did have the opportunity to see his presentation and to learn about what he was doing. And I asked him very specific questions on how I can present it to our public, Joe. And, I have to do this in a very, I have to be very cautious about what I say. But I'm very excited about it.
No, I definitely understand. You're not breaking up on the show. You're just breaking up on the phone a little bit. Not really on the show. You're very clear. Let me just make that clear.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to take a break, guys. Guys who are on hold on. I will come back and take your calls.
Thank you, Spencer.
You got it. 888-659-3727 is the phone number. I'm Spencer Kobren. You're listening to and watching The Bald Truth. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727. Again, we're trying to work on the phone problems. They're coming in and out. Guys who are on hold, I'm sorry if you're having problems. We will try to get to your calls, and you just have to bear with me. Hopefully, I can have this fixed by next week. Seems like the video is working, but let me give out the phone number again: 888-659-3727. This guy's name, I think he said his name was Tim. I forgot where he's calling from. Hey, Tim, is that you?
Yes, hello.
Hey, Tim, where are you calling from, man?
Hey, Spencer, how are you? It's Sam.
Sam. Sam, not Tim. Sam, how are you, man? You see, I can't hear you either. So I'm sorry for the phone problems, man. Hopefully we can get things all worked out.
It's okay. I mean, I'll try to make use of what I hear. So if I don't answer or something, it's just because I'm trying to figure out what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say, first things first, this news is probably the most significant news in the entire hair loss history. Now, I personally think that if this comes to fruition, this will have us reevaluate every single constraint in the hair loss industry. So this idea of limited donor area, that will change. The problems to get around problems, the solutions to get around problems are going to be a lot simpler than what they are today. I think this opens a door to opportunities. So I think it's not just scarless hair transplants, which in itself is huge. I think that is literally the closest thing we have to the complete solution, and it's not far from it. And this is great news because I still think that if someone has a very, very, very aggressive gene, and some people, and a decent amount of people do have a very aggressive hair loss gene, I think it still might be a little bit of an issue for them, but I think this solves the solution for many hair loss sufferers, especially people who are new to this, who are young and who are recently starting to lose their hair.
Well, I absolutely agree, Sam. And again, I hope you can hear me. I absolutely agree.
I hear you. Yeah.
I don't get excited about much. I'm about to sneeze on
you. You seem pretty sold, though.
I'm pretty sold from what I've seen. Hold on for a second, guys. I'm going to sneeze.
Sure.
Maybe I won't. But again, I have, I try to, obviously I'm very open-minded with a lot of things, but this guy convinced me because he showed me real data, not just fucking numbers that he got off the top of his head. You see these guys who pander to the message forums, and you see all the numbers out there, and even by some guys who are well respected in the field, you never know where these numbers are coming from.
Yeah, I actually just started using the message forum. I'm logged in as Sam D.
Oh, cool.
D-E.
That's great, man.
It's great. It's a great tool, I must say. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. And, and you see a lot of guys who, and then they kind of latch on to these numbers. But when you can see the technique being performed on video, and you can see the outcome of the technique, and you can see.
Yeah, I actually saw. I went to his site and I read up a bit on some of the tests he's done on some of his patients, and it was quite interesting. I assume the only way, logically thinking about it, the only way to get out the follicle without causing any scar tissue is if you were to go through the only hole there is now, which is where the hair is coming out of. So maybe like he has some tool where he would kind of stick something in and kind of create a little bit of an opening so he can pull out the follicle and stretch the skin.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I can't play a guessing game, but I'm sure that there are guys out there that there's going to be thread after thread, and guys who are just
for sure,
trying to figure out what it is, but that's great. It's great. I think it's important. I think that kind of gives us, it adds to the excitement, and it adds to the, in the end, I think when people find out how it's done, and maybe some guys will guess how it's done. People are going to be like, wow, this is just. It's so simple, but it's so ingenious.
For sure. And Spencer, just to say, it's usually the most complicated problems that have the easiest solution. It's just for us just to figure that out. And from then on, it's like, how didn't we think of this earlier?
Absolutely. Now, what I like about Carlos, and again, I'm going to put this out there again. I'm not here to stroke him. This is not what the show is about. It's that he's an open book. He's an open book, and he wants to share this like a real scientist, like a real member of the medical community. He wants to share this with his colleagues, and he wants to get this out to the public. And obviously, like I told him, he's going to be the one that's going to be benefiting tremendously anyway. No one has to keep this shit close to their vest. It's about getting it out there. And honestly, to me, if it's a legitimate technique, if it's a technique that is easily duplicated, if it's a technique that is 100% for real with no smoke and mirrors, then
he's explained to. I'm certain you can't disclose a lot of information. But he's explained to you in somewhat of a sense of what he's doing. Do you have an idea of how this works?
I know exactly how it works, and he's explained.
Oh, okay, great.
He's explained everything to me. He's actually showed me, and that's why I'm so excited. It's when I speak to other guys, it's always like, well, I have a special, unique thing that no one else can do.
This is going to change the idea of hair loss. It's no longer going to be a real problem. It's going to be like, if you want to fix it, there's a possibility. Because if you think about it, there's no scars. There's so much less of a reason for people not to do it. I'm losing my hair. Let me just get a hair transplant. What's the big deal?
The big deal is going to be money, and just like any other
money, yes.
Any other form of cosmetic surgery.
But here's the thing: people who are on these forums, people who are dying, I don't think money is the biggest factor. I think people are willing to pay necessarily anything just to get that happiness, because they want. From that point, they can move on with their life.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. I got to tell you what's going to happen, Sam. There's going to be guys who are going to be doing it legitimately, and then there's going to be guys who are going to be offering it at a cut rate price who aren't going to be who are not going to be licensed to utilize the tools involved, who are not going to be licensed to do it correctly, and who are going to be profiteering off of the technique while not actually performing the technique correctly. So there will be harm done. That's what this sadly, that's what not only this industry has been built on, but it's just a lot of. There's always a lot of nonsense when anything like this comes out in any type of any form of cosmetic surgery or any type of sadly cures for cancer or treatments for cancer. So people are going to have to do their due diligence and understand that you're going to get what you pay for with something like this, and you want to go to the guys who are licensed to do it, the guys that are really doing it and learned from Dr. Wesley, are using his instrumentation.
Exactly. My mom always said, don't worry necessarily about your hair or don't worry about anything. Just go to school, become smart, and you'll realize you have a lot more options than you think you have. And I think that's it. I think right now, for me personally, although it's consuming for all of us who are going through it, I think to focus, to understand, and I understand that we're so numb from the fact that we're constantly being told, don't worry, in 5 years there's going to be a solution, 2 years there's going to be a solution. But it's a lot more real now, because we're talking numbers 2017. We're talking numbers 2015. We're talking stuff in clinical trials.
That's right.
And I don't want to go on this tangent here. Just very briefly, with respect to Joe. Joe, I hope everything's great, buddy. I just want to say a little thing. Joe, this comes out. Let's just talk a scenario which is somewhat realistic. Let's not necessarily here, but it's possible. Let's just say this thing works out, and you realize. First, let's say you realize, listen, I have unlimited donor area because I can take off. I have great hair on the back of my head. I have great hair on my arms, on my chest, whatever it is. You find a way to get all those grafts that you need. You plug them into your head. You're looking great, Joe. Now, can I ask you a question? Wouldn't you wish, because either way, year 2015, January 10th, you got all your hair back, regardless to how you were screwed up from it from your entire life, or regardless to where you lived, as if it never happened, as if it wasn't a problem. And I think that's what Spencer might have been trying to tell you, that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So,
Joe, you there, man?
I'm trying. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I'm here.
What are you saying?
Yeah, he
No, what I'm saying is, let's say you were to get all your hair back. Would you feel like all this time you wasted worrying about it might have been useless?
No, what do you mean useless? My life was destroyed by it. I don't understand what you mean. My youth was destroyed. My life was destroyed, like everyone else's. This is a problem that can't be rectified.
I hear. All right, yeah, I understand that. I want to bring something up. I want to bring something up my own experience, and I've been posting on the forums. I think it's a great tool, and I'm trying to post my story, and I'm trying to get some pictures up online, because I have some pictures. I'm in New York now. I got to go back to Canada and get those pictures, but I want to upload some pictures of my progress. And at first, when I used to tell this stuff to my mom, she kind of looked at it as maybe me being desperate to find a solution, maybe being a little crazy about it.
Right.
And she had like her mindset. I think older people who weren't exposed to it don't understand that there's a waste block DHT. They think it's purely genetics. You're supposed to lose your hair. There's nothing you can do about it. You're going to lose your hair. Now, as time started going by, I'd come home to Montreal once every few months, holidays or whatever it is, right? And at first, my mom started saying, "Oh, your hair looks pretty good," and like she had no idea like anything was changing. And then at a certain point, she kept telling me, "Oh, you're getting really good haircuts." And I'm like, "No, it's not the haircut. The hair is actually changing." And now, like, I'm actually showing her my hairline, and she's like instantly, she's a believer now. She realizes I'm not crazy, and that there's actually some stuff you can possibly do about this. Now, what has me confused is I'm at the point where I'm taking a decent amount of things, but I'm unsure what's really working.
Right, that's common.
It's quite interesting, but you know what? I don't care. I'm happy. I don't care. I'll take those 5 pills a night, whatever it is. I'll take all those herbs. I'll keep cleaning the oil. I'm happy because something is really working.
Well, I can say this, that I'm not a fan of the kitchen sink approach, but once you start the kitchen sink approach, and if it's working for you, then I think you got to stick with it.
Yeah, listen. I mean, it can be put quite simply. I'd rather take that tedious approach into fixing it than having to deal with the stress and lack of confidence and feeling that I'm losing my hair. I'd rather take every precaution to make sure that I can stay happy and have that integrity and that confidence. Sorry about that.
Sam, man. Sam, listen, dude. I always appreciate the call. You're a great caller, and you always have such enthusiasm. I wish other young guys were as enthusiastic and as like, you know what? There's life after hair loss. Hold on, Joe. What's going on?
You can't find it?
Joe's unbelievable. Let me put this guy on hold.
Hello, Spencer.
Yeah, Joe, I'm going to put you on hold, dude. I just love your optimism, and I love the fact that you're out there doing your research, and I'm glad that you're being helped, and I'm glad that you're you're not afraid to do something positive for yourself. A lot of the young guys are.
Yeah.
All right, man. Listen, I'm going to let you go. Thank
you, Spencer. All right.
Keep your eyes open. Keep your ears open. I will.
I will.
Continue.
I always do, Spencer. One more thing just to bring up. It was a couple of weeks ago. I was listening to the reruns of the show, and the topic of Passover came up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up just quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just listened to the show, and you guys kept saying how boring it is, how it's driving you guys nuts. I'm thinking, like, that's crazy. Like, these are the best times of the year where everyone gets together, everyone has a great time.
Well, you seem like you probably have a wonderful family with like you guys have great seders and everything's positive. The only thing I remember about going to temple with my father was that, he smelled like Schlitz and Dentyne, and he was always depressed, and it was just always a really bad situation, really bad vibe. Every holiday there was a crazy argument or whatever it is.
Man.
So for me,
that's not like it. Yeah, so, listen, Spencer, if one day I find moving to California, maybe I'll invite you over to a beautiful Seder, have a great time, and we'll have great full heads of hair, and everything would be great, huh?
Well, that would be wonderful, man. I appreciate that. I really do. All right, Sam, take care.
All right.
All right.
Take care of yourself.
All right,
Bye-bye.
You too. 888-659-3727. Sorry about that, guys. I just hung up on somebody. 888-659-3727. Guys, feel free to call back. I know the phones are breaking up a little bit, But to kind of recap for the guys who don't know what I'm talking about and who just joined the chat room, a lot of questions about Dr. Carlos Wesley's scarless hair transplant procedure. I was made privy to a private presentation, and I'm extremely excited about it. Obviously, there's only so much that I can say, but from what I've seen, I do believe that this is a true possibility, and that this guy is absolutely onto something, and I think it's going to be a game changer. I spoke to Dr. Wesley about what I might say on the broadcast prior to tonight's show. And obviously he was cool about what I was going to say as long as I didn't speak about specifics. And I do not plan on answering any specific questions about the technique, except that I do believe that there will be no scars left after graft extraction. I also believe that the grafts that are being extracted are incredibly robust, as if you were doing a regular follicular unit transplantation and dissecting the grafts under a microscope. So you're going to get really beautiful grafts that are going to grow beautifully. From what I've seen from the presentation, it looks like the transection rates are negligible. Basically, from what I've seen, almost zero transection rate. This is not the same type of, I can't say that. I don't want to get too specific, but it is exciting stuff. The implications of a procedure like this are huge, and I don't think people really understand. I've read some stuff online, and even Joe from Staten Island asked, "Well, okay, it's great. It's a scarless hair transplant, but it's still not going to regenerate hair." Just by virtue of the hair transplant being scarless, you're going to be able to move more hair from different parts of the body. You're going to be able to move more hair from the scalp without worrying about, further progression, because if you do progress, and even if the hairs that are transplanted in 10 years start to miniaturize, it's just going to look like the natural balding process. So it's going to give young guys, it's going to give guys early on in the throes of hair loss a much greater opportunity to enjoy their life with more hair. And knowing that what we know about what's coming down the pike, I just think that it is, really a tremendous step forward in this, in surgical hair restoration and hair restoration in general. So I want people to kind of take this and realize that, positive things are happening. We don't have to just, rely on, this cloak and dagger kind of clandestine shit that goes on, in other countries. We're going to be presented with real information, real facts, real data, real clinical trials, and this information is going to be shared with the medical community and the hair loss community at large. So that's why this is so important. 888-659-3727. Joe, is that you? Joe, you there?
Yes. Am I part up? I want to ask you this question.
Go ahead.
So, Dr. Wesley's doing it's fantastic, but in your expert opinion, or do you have any information on this, or are you allowed to talk about it, it will have an effect on body hair transplantation that Dr. Wesley's doing with the beard, or they don't know yet?
This is all theoretical. And again, there's only so much that I can say, but to me, if you're actually able to extract grafts without leaving any scar tissue behind, then if someone is willing to sacrifice, if they have a mat of chest hair, and they're willing to sacrifice large portions of that or all of it, then theoretically that should all be able to be transplantable, which is incredible. So even if, we know that, at least in the past, that, and currently in my view, that body hair transplantation is hit or miss. There are guys out there that are making their livings just promoting body hair transplantation, and they're doing huge sessions, charging upwards of even $100,000 for a procedure. But if you're able to do a body hair transplant where the grafts are going to be really viable, they're going to be robust as far as body hair transplants go, and you're not going to leave any scars, and if someone's willing to sacrifice that chest hair and put it all on their head, then imagine, maybe you'll be able to get another, 10,000 grafts from your chest or more if you have that type of chest. I mean, for me, I can't even get I have vellus hair on my chest. It's ridiculous. I'm like a 10-year-old Swedish boy. So I can never...
Dr. Wesley, doing something specific to the body hair besides it being scarless? Is he treating it a certain way to make it grow better? That's what I'm confused about.
Not that I'm aware of. It's all in technique. From everything that I was provided with, and from what I can say, there's no special mediums being used, no fertilizing mediums or preservation mediums or anything like that. It is purely based on the technique. And again, the body hair stuff is all theoretical. We spoke about it briefly, but we didn't get into any specifics. And I certainly respect Dr. Wesley for not doing that. There's reasons why, I'm sure. But I am just basing this, these theoretical statements on what I've seen from his lab tests and his clinical trials and from the videos that I've seen. And it's some shit, man. I got to tell you, it is. I have been doing this for 15 years. You do not see me get excited. I'm very tempered with what I say. I will be shocked if this does not come to fruition as I think that it will. I'll be shocked. Well, I would apologize to all. I'd apologize to all of you guys for giving you false hope, because I am not the type of person to do that. I truly believe that this is going to be an exciting time in hair restoration, especially surgical hair restoration, obviously. And for those,
this is true with body hair and everything else. Dr. Wesley has virtually surgically cured baldness.
Say that again?
For the first time in history. This is true.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a cure, because if the theoretical aspect of donor regeneration doesn't work with this technique, then obviously it's not a cure. But what it is, it gives people it'll give people a much greater opportunity to live more years with more hair until something else comes around. And if that hair does start to miniaturize because they're going outside the safe zone, the patient won't have to worry about visible scarring, because the hair will just start to miniaturize again, and you'll look like you're going through the natural balding process. Now, the key will be to obviously not cause a moth-eaten effect in the donor area. So everything you're still going to be limited by how much hair you can remove, but you'll be able to do a much more balanced approach, as opposed to kind of having a lot of guys end up with kind of like a bozo effect on the sides, where they have to really, close crop a lot if they have a hair transplant, or cut a lot in order to kind of make it look balanced with the transplanted hair. With an approach like this, I'm assuming that, and again, it's theoretical, that you're going to be able to create more of a balance surgically, so that it's going to be more of an even distribution of all the hair on your scalp. You're not going to have to worry about that, because if the hair does begin to recede again, then you're just going to look like you're going through the balding process. So there's going to be no sign of surgery, and that is absolutely huge. It can give people, even if nothing comes down, if Adodarns, Histogen, nothing works for the next 10 years, now people are going to have many more years of hair and the ability to live with hair in their head if they choose to, than they ever had before. So,
well, if you could extract like beard hairs without scarring, and that in itself will give you several thousand grafts, to me that's an awesome achievement in itself.
Say that again, Joe?
If you could extract beard hairs or body hairs and do it in such a way where it'll grow without leaving scar tissue behind, that in itself will be amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
Am I correct in that assertion?
That is amazing. But again, not everybody's going to benefit from that, because like a guy like me, maybe they'd be able to find 10 hairs total on my body that could be transplanted. But a guy like you, you say you have like a carpet on your chest.
Well, you've heard for several doctors that I'm like a gorilla.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm literally like a little kid. I take off my shirt. I'm like either a Swedish kid or like an Asian kid. I have barely any hair on my body.
Could you show us now, Spencer?
You can see it. You can see it right here. That's my chest. Usually guys have hair in their chest. You look at a guy like Andrew Zarian. It looks like he cuts his hair right up here, like it's a fucking hair sweater.
Can you pull your T-shirt down a little more?
No, I cannot. John,
all right, serious note. One final question, please. I know you have other callers.
Yeah.
Will this process of Dr. Wesley have any effect on treating past donor scars?
That's an interesting question. The only thing that I can see is that you might have more hair to utilize to implant into the donor scar without worrying about you losing that precious hair. It's not going to eradicate prior scars. It may give you more of an ability to break up the scar visibly, because you may have more hair that you can utilize, but that's about it. But I think it's going to have an impact on everything. And listen, the bottom line is this. Who knows if this technique is somehow going to be stopped, or which I doubt, or who knows if, who knows what could happen. All I'm saying is, from what he presented me, for the first time, it was probably the most thorough presentation that anybody ever presented to me privately, as far as this type of surgical intervention. And most of the other private stuff that I've seen over the years has been, in my view, and this is nothing personal, so I'm not going to mention any names, a little bit smoke and mirrors, and a little bit like, these guys are trying to talk over my head because I'm a layman. But I was able to kind of, obviously decipher. I'm smart enough to decipher what the reality was. But with that said, these guys are making a living. They're putting their stuff out there online. They're doing their thing. And, some people are happy with it. Some people are find it questionable. I think that this is the real deal. I really do.
What I find very interesting is that Dr. Wesley is willing to share this with the medical community, his fellow heart transplant surgeons pro bono. This, to me, I find fascinating in itself.
Well, it's not pro bono because he's not providing a service to consumers for free, but he's basically...
No, to his fellow surgeons, I think.
He's willing to share his technique, in international conferences, and basically give them the opportunity to utilize the tools that he's developing. And I'm sure those tools are going to be at a cost, for sure. Just like, if you buy a punch, you can, it costs some money. But, the guy is doing it right. This is how medicine is supposed to be. And sadly, you look at a guy like Ray Woods, who is basically become just basically a footnote in in the world of follicular unit extraction. That guy was the leader, man. That guy started it all. That guy, when he came to me, I was like, this guy is on to something for sure, and I would love to help him get it out there. And when it became a point of contention for him to share his information with others unless they paid him a certain fee, that's when things started to, I think, unravel, and things became difficult. And they became difficult for Dr. Woods. I think Dr. Woods is a doctor who really cares about his patients. I've always said that. He's had a hard-on for me for a long time for whatever reasons he has. But, I've always respected the way that he's treated his patients and the work that he's done. But, other guys had to take that ball and basically, or I should say, they had to basically reinvent the wheel because he was unwilling to share his technique. And along the way, when these doctors were reinventing that wheel, patients were harmed. But now today, FUE is a standard of care in this industry, and it's evolving into a huge part of physicians' practices. And in many cases, a lot of these doctors are now evolving their practice solely to do FUE. That's what the consumer wants. And with a product like this, and I say a product because, listen, it is a product. Consumers are going to be paying for it. With a technique like this, I think it's going to open up the playing field. It's going to open up opportunities not only for many more physicians to get involved in the field and to help patients, but for patients who never would have considered having surgery to go in and benefit from this type of procedure. And
a lot of doctors, I'm not mentioning names, a guy who runs a blog, Dr. Begins with an R, aren't going to be happy with this. They don't like anything new. They don't like anything that disrupts their way of doing things.
No, and you know what? Those guys will come out and criticize technique, but I have to tell you that, and I told Dr. Wesley this, that I think it's going to be very difficult for anybody to question him. He's presented in a way that I've never seen before, It's not just in a paper. It's not just, it's the video presentations. It's the cadaver presentations, just showing what he was able to do. It's kind of like saying, I'm trying to find an analogy and be diplomatic without kind of giving it away. Well, let's put it this way. From what he presented me with, even the biggest naysayers are going to have difficulty challenging him, in my view. I could be wrong. We know who those naysayers are. We know some of the old school naysayers are. They really gave it to Woods. They really made it difficult for Woods to get his technique out there. And then some of the biggest naysayers were the guys that ended up kind of taking credit for developing the technique. So, it is what it is. Listen, I'm excited about it. I don't want to get overly excited about it, but look, maybe I am at this point. I mean, this is the first time that I've seen something in the last, since FUE, since Woods presented his technique to me, that I thought was really going to change this field and really evolve the opportunities for hair loss sufferers to really benefit in ways, in surgical hair restoration in ways that they never were able to benefit before. So that's it. I think we spoke enough about it for the last hour and 15 minutes.
So in future broadcasts, you'll be releasing more information to the audience, Spencer? Is that how it's going to work?
No, this is it. I'm never going to speak about it again, Joe. I mean, what the fuck do you think?
What did you say?
No, I'm never going to say it again. I'm never going to speak about this again. This is it. This is the only time. I mean, come on. What do you think I'm doing here?
No, I'm saying in the future we'll probably know more about this information.
Of course. As soon as I know and as soon as I'm able to share the information, you guys will know.
If Dr. West is listening right now, he has a volunteer, you know how it is.
You know what? He probably is listening right now, or at least he's going to listen to the replay.
Or staff is listening.
Look, he's a good person, too. He's not just a good doctor. He's a good person. That is hard to find in this industry.
What did you say? You're breaking up, Spencer. What did you say?
He's a good person, too. That's hard to find in this industry. And I have to say that I've met a lot of doctors, obviously. I know a lot of people in the industry. I like this guy. I think he's a good, salt of the earth type of guy that really wants to help people. Joe, you there? All right, Joe, I think we're having some phone problems. I'm going to put you on hold. 888-659-3727. Let's take a break. Give us a call here at The Bald Truth if you want to talk about this. Again, I have, I have to work within the parameters that I was given, and there are obviously legal parameters that I have to stay within. I do not come out on this broadcast and talk about stuff like this lightly. I certainly believe that from everything that I was presented, that this is going to happen. I think it's going to happen sooner than most people believe. And, I think that what's exciting about it is it's being done right now. It's going to be shared. The papers are being developed. And within a few short months, I really believe that there are going to be other doctors out there that are going to be utilizing this technique, learning this technique, and then utilizing the technique. But I also want people to understand that they cannot just jump out there and get this done once a doctor starts to advertise that he's doing it. Make sure the doctor that is doing it is really good at what they do. You could obviously contact us through The Bald Truth or ihrs.org. And, you really want to do your due diligence. It's beyond just the technique. I think that, if a guy decided to go out and have strip tomorrow and is happy with his results and then in a year decides to have a technique like this, he's just that much better off. So just be careful out there, guys. 888-659-3727. I'm going to take I just turned off my mic. Sorry about that. Take a quick break. And when I come back, I will take your phone calls. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Any of you that have ever felt stepped on, left out, picked on, put down, whether you think you're a nerd or not, why don't you just come down here and join us, okay? Come on.
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. So great to be here. Another Tuesday night doing the Bald Show. Sorry for bandwidth problems with the phone, guys. What can I tell you, man? Shit happens. I may have to go to some old school copper wire phone lines. Get that shit done. 888-659-3727. A lot of response already to my emails. Just checked. It's insane. Guys, I can't give you any more information than I have right now. All I can say is that things are getting better. Stop beating each other up on the message forums. Try to realize that we're all in this together. It's not a matter of being right. I see, like I always tell you guys, on Tuesdays before the program, I try to take some time to read the message forum. I should be involved more, I guess, but, I just have to, I work for a living. Got a lot of shit going on in my life. We get hundreds of posts a day. I can't read it all. And it's difficult for me to follow these threads. Some of them are like soap operas. We are all in this together. Realize that. I see some of the shit that goes on. It's mind-boggling. I appreciate the passion that people have about this stuff. But come on. Triple 865-93727. I want you guys to know that I know that there's some problems with the phone lines, but I'm here to take your calls. I'm here to answer your questions. If you're new to hair loss, understand that most of the shit that's out there is complete nonsense. Will not help you in any way, shape, or form. You guys are easy targets. As hair loss sufferers, we're all easy targets. At the age of 22 years old, I was sitting in the hair club, sitting in their offices in New York City, and I basically had a full head of hair. I didn't even have to paint my bald spot back then. And this company was trying to sell me a wig. And I just never forget the tactics that were used. I was so vulnerable. I was so upset with myself. I had brought my girlfriend with me at the time. And back in those days, they were using Polaroid pictures still. I never forget that the salesperson took a shot of the top of my head to kind of get a look at what I was dealing with, and I looked like I had a baseball-sized bald spot. I didn't think that it had anything to do with the flash at the time, but thank God that my girlfriend was there and told me that I don't know what they did, but your head does not look like that. I never forget, I pressed the issue. I wanted to know, what were they selling me? How were they going to give me my hair back or make me, feel better about my hair again? They were telling me that, once we get this process done, and I signed on that dotted line, that no one's going to know that I had anything done. And as my hair loss progresses, no one will know. It'll be like it never happened. And that sounds great to a 22-year-old kid who has been, watching as his self-esteem was eroding as he watched his hairline erode. That didn't come out right. You know what I'm talking about. And somehow I had the wherewithal to walk out of that place without signing on that dotted line. And I know so many people who did, who ended up having their head shaved into a bozo hairdo and having a wig glued onto their head when they didn't need to wear a wig, when they didn't realize they were even getting a wig. They thought they were getting some sort of miracle strand-by-strand process that was going to get their hair back. I tell this story like it happened to me yesterday, because that kind of stuff is happening by so many companies who are perpetrating this type of, I didn't want to say it, but who are selling these type of products without letting the consumer know exactly what they're getting, with making it look like it's something that's not, There's nothing wrong with wearing a hairpiece if you know that you're going to be wearing a fucking hairpiece. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with doing something to make yourself feel better if you know what you're getting into. But don't try to sell a wig to a 22-year-old boy. And try to sell it as though it's not a wig. Like you're going to give this kid his hair back. You know, that's what this industry was built on. And even to this day, this happens. No matter how far we've come. Sadly, I see what happens out there. I'm privy to so much information and I'm in so much contact with the consumer. While it's not directly, they're in direct contact with our resources. And I take the time to read their emails, some people, especially the more compelling ones. And I see what happens, man. I understand the desperateness. I understand how fucked up it must be for some guy to have had a hair transplant and spend thousands of dollars and take off work and feel they've been misled or that they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. And the truth is that could happen even from the best doctor, the best clinic. So everyone, even if you do your due diligence, you have to be prepared to be disappointed because that could always happen. But sadly, most of the disappointments out there, in my view, are from the guys that, they're not giving full disclosure. They're not really doing state-of-the-art techniques. Nor do they care to do it because it's too difficult, too time-consuming, too labor-intensive, and too costly to do it right. So I want you guys just to realize that you have a safe place here. I have my critics. Fuck them. What am I going to do? That's the way that it is. Vast majority of the critics are actually people from within the industry who just don't like the fact that we're out here telling it like it is, doing our thing, and talking about a subject that, because society doesn't allow us to talk about it, it made it much easier for those in the industry to take advantage of our vulnerability. Be careful what you read online. Be careful of what you I can't speak. Be careful about everything you read online. Try to find out where it's coming from. If it's coming from an anonymous. Jesus, I got to stop drinking on the air. I got to tell you guys. If it's coming from an anonymous source who's unwilling to divulge their real name because they don't want that accountability, look at it with a jaundiced eye. Be smart. 888-659-3727. All right, Joe, I'm going to take you again, all right? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you I hear you better. You're not breaking up, but you're a little bit low. I was wondering, I'm going back in time a little bit. Do you remember Dr. Sattel and Palagenic in the late 1970s in Manhattan? Were you involved with him at all?
Hold on. How is that better? Can you hear me better now? Joe?
A little bit better.
How about now?
Hello?
How about now?
No, you're very low, Spencer. Hello?
All right, how about now?
No, I feel like I'm taking a hearing test. I don't hear you at all.
Really? You can't hear me at all?
I feel like I'm taking a hearing test.
It's so fucked up. I don't know what to do, guys. I don't know what to do. This is so frustrating.
Well, you can hear me loud and clear, right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yes.
Do you remember Dr. Edward Sattel back in the late 1970s with Palagenic?
I don't remember the doctor's name, but I remember the product's name. But you have to understand that I was not balding in the late 1970s.
I was involved with that in the late 1970s.
Yeah.
They actually switched pictures on me, showing me grown hair. It was a different guy wearing a shirt I never owned, and they were trying to tell me it was me.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding.
That's amazing.
I walked out of there after that.
Dude, but you know the same.
I had a green shirt on. I had on a green shirt, and they try to tell me it was me.
The same trick. The same tricks are employed today, man. You know, as unsophisticated as you think it was back then, it is still happening today. There are clinics and laser clinics and clinics that are taking samples of your hair and looking it under a microscope, and these trichologists. I mean, there's so much shit going on. I'm not saying that every trichologist is out there to rip you off. I think that there are, now that we have real agents that work, finasteride, minoxidil, other minoxidil type concoctions, it's a little bit more reasonable to go to some trichologists. But in general, man, that they were, in my view, just the biggest snake oil salesman out there. Again, this is just my opinion. I think some of that has changed, of course. And there's a couple of guys who are pretty well known, but I don't want to get into who they are.
Father and son.
Yeah, but you guys, man, you don't know, and Joe, you said this before, these guys don't know how lucky they are. I read what they're writing, and I'm like, Jesus, man, if you were our age, if you had to deal with what we had to deal with back in the day, God, they have so much now. I mean, everyone's shit scared to take Propecia now. So for a lot of people, that's off the table, which is, I think they're doing themselves a disservice, but that's just my opinion. So I'm not going to tell anyone to take a drug that can potentially cause, adverse sexual side effects. I believe in the drug. It's changed my life and many lives that I know on a personal level. So for a lot of guys, that's off the table. So they're hoping against hope that they're going to do something to save their head and their hair. And even with what Dr. Wesley is doing, how much easier would it be just to take a pill and to slow the progression or stop the progression of their hair loss for many years than to have to go and have a basically an operation and spend tens of thousands of dollars at a pop to have something done? How much easier would it make your life to just be able to pop a pill once a day and potentially save your hair? To me, it's a lot easier. It makes sense. But I understand the fear. So I think these young guys are even more difficult placed than, say, the guys 10 years ago who were going through the initial throes of hair loss. Because at least 10 years ago, there was less fear out there. We knew about the side effects, but there was less fear and there's a less, insanity going on online. So a lot of people benefited. Hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, benefited from this drug. And they're not spending time on the message forums. They're not spending time out there, on different websites complaining about their hair. They just moved on with their lives. So I think you're gone, Joe.
No, I'm here. You hear me, Spencer?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. I'm definitely a proponent of Propecia, no doubt about that. But it's in a lot of bad press, and a lot of people are just not using it. All I see every other commercial is a Propecia lawsuit.
Yeah, it's
different companies. Everybody, it's all now. They have ads in papers.
It's a fucking shame. It's a fucking shame. And these lawyers.
I won't be surprised if Merck pulled it off the market. To be honest with you,
they won't pull it off.
I think it's a possibility.
I don't think so. No way. I mean, come on. You know how many lawsuits there are against other drugs out there? You know how many people have been harmed by the birth control pill, allegedly, or by other drugs? This is a sexy drug, no pun intended. This is a drug it's a lifestyle drug, so it's very palatable for the media to pick something like this up and kind of make a sensationalized story out of it. Look how many drugs are black labeled that are not taken off the market. This drug is not going to be taken off the market.
But I noticed that Merck is taking out a Propecia website. Is that correct? Or maybe I didn't download it properly.
Absolutely.
What do you think the reason for that is?
Well, Jerry says he has to correct Spencer. Propecia still has its website up. Yes, it has. There's a website up, but it basically tells you to look at the to look at the manual, if I remember correctly. Or if you have any questions about Propecia, to contact something or other. Let me take a look at what it says on there.
Well, more exciting news is that Gail Norton will be speaking soon, and supposedly Adodarn is having some major announcement in this month. So, I mean, with bated breath, we're all waiting for that. But whether Allergen will be going to phase 3 or not with Pimatoprost.
This is actually interesting. Now, Propecia's website is back up and running. I don't know when this came back to life. But I think that's actually very good news. Very good news. They had pulled their website down for a while.
Maybe it's a technical glitch.
No, I think there were legal issues, and they just wanted to make sure that they dotted their I's and crossed their T's. But this is good news. Absolutely. Important risk information about Propecia continued. I mean, they put the stuff right out there. That's smart.
Well,
Jerry, thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention.
Are you looking forward to the announcements from Adodarn, Histogen, and Allergen with the next couple of months? We don't know if we'll have whether or not they're all going to phase 3. We're going to either make it or break it in the next few months.
I think that's great stuff. Of course I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to a really great hair year. And, at the end of this year is going to be really, really great. And I think that we have something that, we're not, right now we're not dependent on the FDA. We're not dependent on, those type, trials. Basically what this is a surgical procedure, going back to Wesley, that we know we're not necessarily worried about, regenerating hair. If that happens, great. Theoretically, I think it's going to happen, but that's terrific. At least there's something now very close that's on the horizon that is going to change things, in my view, forever. The addition of Histogen and Adodarn. If this guy, Dr. Negum, actually is onto something, who the hell knows? Then that's all good stuff, Joe. All stuff to be excited about.
And allergies, got to mention Pimatoprost.
Absolutely. But I think, as the picture evolves, and as we start to see it's more clear. I think that Pimatoprost, while it can definitely help people, I just don't know how much of a benefit it's going to be. If it's better than Rogaine, if it's better than minoxidil, then of course there's going to be some benefits. But I think there's going to be obviously limitations to that as well. We've talked about that before.
But how do you know that? I mean, no one really, and all due respect, no one really knows what it's going to do.
No, I don't know that. It's just an educated guess. I do not know that. It's just an educated guess based on some of the data that has been presented to me from doctors who are using Pimatoprost, even though they're using less of a dosage. Also, the stuff that obviously we've gotten from Allergan, which is limited. But just as an educated guess, I think that it's going to have its limitations for sure. I don't believe, there are some doctors that say that it's going to be much better than minoxidil. That's great. Will it be kind of like a Band-Aid? Will it have a temporary effect? We don't know. It's all good stuff, Joe. It's all positive stuff. But look, dude, I'm going to wrap up about 10 minutes early tonight.
Well, the bottom line, I just want to find a comment, please. The bottom line is this: all this making guesses right now. The bottom line is, by the summertime, we'll know the deal on Adodarn, Histogen, and Allergan. Is that correct to say, Spencer?
I think we think we'll know the deal, but you never know. It's not over till the fat lady sings, right, Joe?
I mean, Adodarn's been out for 10 years now. I mean, could they hurry up, maybe? What do you think, Spencer?
I would love them to hurry up, but don't wait for you are the quintessential online hair loss sufferer who's putting their life on hold for these products. Don't be like Joe from Staten Island. I think that we need to put out a bumper sticker.
How much could I expect to make over that, Spencer?
I'll tell you what. You can keep half the proceeds, and the rest will go to charity.
All right. So you have your staff send me contracts, please.
Absolutely.
No, in all seriousness, though, in the next few months, when all this stuff settles, I will be making a visit to Dr. Wesley, I think. See what he can do for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That may be.
Boston Bob
Excuse me?
actually. Boston B just asked, "What about Dr. Needham?" And he took the time to write Dr. Needham for you, which I thought was
I
wonderful.
appreciate that, but go ahead.
Yeah, which I thought was wonderful. You want my opinion on Dr. Needham, Boston B? Honestly, I have no idea. I think just from what he's presented, I'm looking at him with an extreme jaundice eye. The way that he's pandering to the message forums, to me, is always a red flag. But that doesn't mean that he's not doing something great. It just appears from everything that he's presented so far, from the questionable images on his website to the way that he is responding to, anonymous posters on an internet forum, to the way that he is, in my view, not necessarily being totally fair to, at least one of his colleagues publicly. And he's kind of reacting to this particular colleague based on some anonymous users on the internet. I find that to be, pretty unprofessional. But with that said, it could be a cultural thing. I don't know exactly what he's doing. There's kind of a lot of, hocus pocus going on, at least from the language being used. But you know what? I hope he's onto something, and I hope he proves everybody wrong. And that discussion will be allowed to continue on Bald Truth Talk, because I think it's important that whatever it is unfolds. So that's my answer about Dr. Needham.
Well, Spencer, Bob wants to know why I don't go to India. I mean, I'm very hesitant to go to India. Someone I don't even know what the hell's going on there. I come back destroyed, or
you can come,
who the hell knows?
You can come back circumcised.
Excuse me?
I'm just kidding. I said you can come back circumcised. Boston B.
I am already circumcised.
I think that. I think that Boston B is right. I think the guy does appear to be intelligent, but you know what? He's a physician, and it's not that difficult to appear to be intelligent in writing on the internet anymore. All you have to do is go online and Google stuff and paraphrase, or in some cases cut and paste. People do that all the time, and you appear to be a genius. Anybody could do that. Until you actually hear him speaking, until you see what he's doing, until you're able to speak with patients that he has performed this procedure on, it's just someone, basically an anonymous guy on the internet. Who even knows if it's Dr. Needham that's posting? I have no fucking clue. But I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping for the best, and I think Boston Bob or Boston B, it was great for you to reach out to Dr. Needham. I appreciate that. And at some point, I'll interview him. At some point, I'm just kind of watching and waiting. And I want to let him know, if he's listening to this broadcast, that I'm looking at him with an open mind. And you know what? I'm not the judge, jury, and executioner here either. It's really the consumer. If you're able to prove to the consumer that you're doing something great, then the bottom line is you're going to win and the consumer's going to win. And I swear to God that I hope that's the case.
Basically, one thing final before you close up shop, Spencer.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read the fact that certain site run by an Oriental gentleman, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't know.
They viciously attacked people on the Bald Truth. It was a vicious attack this week, saying that all we do is sell hair transplants.
All right.
That's our only agenda.
That's okay.
Bald Truth.
What are you going to do?
Obviously, they should listen to what you say every week. That's your last resort.
No, they don't listen.
That's what you say every week.
Look,
that's how stupid they are.
There's always detractors. There's always guys who just don't get it. It doesn't make a difference, It doesn't. It really doesn't.
I would be very upset about it, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll take a look. But what are you going to do? I find that interesting because was it actually the person from Hairside, or was someone on Hairside?
People on Hairside.
Oh, well.
No, it's people who post on Hairside saying those guys are Bald Truth. All they do is sell hair transplants.
Well, what are you going to do?
That's what that's what they're saying.
What are you going to do?
Which is the farthest from the truth. You don't sell hair transplants. You talk people out of hair transplants.
I won't sell hair
transplants. Last resort.
No, it is the last resort. And even the guys that are in the IHRS who post on Bald Truth Talk forum, I tell them, listen, I'm not going to sell a hair transplant. I'm not here to guarantee leads. I'm not here to sell a hair transplant. I'm not here to do any of that shit. I will not sell a hair transplant. Hair transplants are a last resort. If you're going to have a hair transplant, these are the guys to go to, in my opinion. Period. It's simple. But not everyone gets that. And it is what it is. Listen, Joe, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for hanging out, guys.
Thank you, Spencer.
You got it. Thank you.
You'll be working next week?
I will be working next week. Actually, I'll be working, let's see, next week. In 2 weeks, actually, Andrew Zarian is going to be live in studio with me here in Los Angeles. Is it in 2 weeks or is it next week?
Will he be sitting next to you live? Will you see a visual of him or just an audio?
You will see a visual of him.
Wow, I'm excited about that.
All right, Joe. Thanks a lot, man. Guys, and let me give out the websites, thebaldtruth.com, of course, for archives of The Bald Truth and The Bald Truth UK. You can check out our message forum at baldtruthtalk.com. Interact with other hair loss sufferers. And again, just always realize you never know where the information is coming from. It's a great place to learn and to share. Sadly, to beat each other up a little bit. That's the nature of message forums, I guess, at least in this world. But it's a good place, and I want to thank everyone for making it the most trafficked hair loss website in the world. So thank you so much for that. American Hair Loss Association. Check out the American Hair Loss Association's website, AmericanHairLoss.org. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.